Wow.
And welcome to episode, I believe this is 9 of the Rorschach Test Podcast. I am your host, Tyrell James. Today I got a very special guest with me, Vashti Dennis. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've had a time over here with audio and visual and everything else. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me make sure these. All right.
Don't you get flustered. Not
Which,
doing that.
all right. All right. Hopefully we don't have any more issues. But if so, we'll work through them. So, all right. All right. How you doing today?
I'm well. I am well. And it's been a morning, but you can't get flustered. Well, you can.
Yeah.
This morning I did a workout. I couldn't find my sneakers. We did it without sneakers.
Boy, you know what? I couldn't find sound earlier. I wish we could do this without sound, but we kind of need it. All right. I understood that. I don't think anybody else did.
That's okay. It was for you.
So, all right. So before we get started, just a little bit about, exactly what we do here at the Rorschach Test Podcast. I put up these Rorschach tests on the screen and I ask you what it is that you see. And based off of what you see, I link what it is that you see to what it is that you do. But before we get into that, I want you to just tell everybody exactly who you are and what it is that you do.
Hey, that is such a loaded question. And it's like, if you miss anything, it's like, dang, do you even know who you are? But I'm just going to go with it, right? So I'm Vashti. I am a holistic practitioner, a healer. I'm a Reiki practitioner, but I'm also, okay, so without describing me, I like to describe the body, right? You have the physical body, the energetic body, and the spiritual body. And I do so many things because I believe in the healing of the whole person. I don't believe that these different bodies should heal separately, right? So as a personal trainer, I would see my clients come in and they'd be crying, about something. And then before we'd be done with the workout, they'd be crying about something else. And so I realized that I wanted to converge all three, physical, energetic, and spiritual, into a healing platform. And so that is what I do. When you come to me as a client, depending on where you are in all of your practices, we look at it and then we do the work. You need spiritual coaching, I'm there. If you need, okay, bitch, drop down and give me 10 push-ups, I got you. Like we're doing it all. And also, is it okay to cuss?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let it out.
Okay, it just comes out. Like I'm walking in my freedom, so I have to remember. But there are rules in first grade. Just
There's
logged
no
on.
rules here.
Okay.
No rules here.
So yeah, that's who I am. That's
no
what
headphones. I'm sick of these headphones. I'm getting rid of these headphones. They're getting on my nerves. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, I hope was that clear. And I'm an author.
Okay, so Reiki. For those that don't understand what Reiki is, can you explain that?
Yeah, so Rei and Ki, breaking down the actual word. Rei is the Japanese word for the universal. Ki is life force. So Reiki, universal life force. So what we do as practitioners who have been attuned, there's an actual attunement that goes on. But honestly, we have to be careful because let's be clear that the Eastern holistic modalities have been watered down in the West at this point. I have gone and become a practitioner and gotten attuned, but I was performing Reiki before that. You have healers that are just so, but what we do is we channel the universal life force in its healing capacity through us into your body. Because whether you're woo-woo or not, science has proven that everything is energy, right? Every living thing is. So all we're doing is channeling the most healing vibration of energy to heal other people.
Gotcha. Okay. So, um, there is, so I've seen Reiki massage. So does it really fall under massage? I mean, because it's not really hands-on. It's like you aren't you just hovering your hands over and just it's more of an energy thing, right?
So it kind of depends, but generally, yes. It's very non-intrusive. So especially during COVID, there's no touch. Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the Reiki I've participated in as far as receiving and giving, and there's no touch. But that's not to say it can't be merged with massage and whatever that person's doing. I've never participated in that, but yeah.
Okay, got you. So so you and I, we've had conversations prior
Have
to
we?
this.
I don't know this man. I don't know this man. I'm just kidding.
Stranger danger. Um, so based off of some of the conversations that we had, and we'll get into like the big reason that we're doing this in a few. But based off some of the conversations that we've had, I know one of the things that you told me is that you are a goddess.
Uh-huh.
So as a goddess, so explain that to us because we hear that a lot. I remember back when I was going to the strip club all the time, there was a girl in there named Goddess, and she just gave herself that name. I don't know if all of us agreed with it, but she said she was a goddess. So what is the difference between stripper goddess and an actual goddess?
Okay, so there's so much loaded stuff in that. First of all, everybody, I did not tell him I was a goddess. I don't walk around saying I'm a goddess. He asked me a question. That's how we got there, okay? Don't be
Yes,
setting
that's
me
true.
up.
That's true.
So, first of all, I truly believe I'm a true believer in how we show up is how we're received, right? And so I
Okay.
show up. My mom asked me one day, she's like, "Are you always in this spiritual space?" I was like, "Yeah, actually, I am." I mean, that doesn't mean I don't have fun. Spiritual people have fun, but I show up as who I am in my divinity that flows through my veins, flows through my body, that flows through my prana. That's your breath. That's your life force. And so for me, a goddess is, so we're using the feminine form, goddess, is a woman or who identifies as a woman who is in touch, who honors, who is aware of the divine being that she is, that the creator, the universal, the oneness that we seek outside of us is actually within us, that we create not just when we birth children, but we create energy and life, and we hold space, and we have these healing mechanisms. We are in touch with our divine feminine. And so I lead with that. When I show up, I lead with that. And to me, that awareness is what defines a goddess. She honors her sacred self. And let's be clear, a stripper is very sacred. A stripper can be very sacred, can be. I'm not saying that a stripper is sacred, depending on her views and her awareness and what she connects to with herself. And so she probably was a goddess. If that is the reality that she created, she doesn't need
Um,
anybody's opinion.
that's true. So, and I guess I was asking more so because um I didn't know if there was a process that needed to be completed in order for you to reach a level of God. It's like, were there steps? But it's more of a spiritual thing. It's more of a in tune with the universe type of thing, correct?
Yeah. And I am not a person who I don't try and convince anybody of your beliefs are your beliefs. If you want to have a conversation, we want to explore things together. That's cool. So I can't say that this is for everybody, but for me, um, it is just being in tune with your divinity, understanding, honoring that divinity, and walking and being in alignment with your divinity. So,
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. And so before we get into the Rorschach test, one more thing. So as far as you being an author, so tell me a little bit about your book.
all right. So also, I must say I'm already published through my children's book about my son and his experiences. That's called Luke and Zoe's Big Adventures. But what I'm in, and I was super excited about that, and it did amazing. But my book that is dropping, I believe, at the end of this month, is called Sensual Living in Not So Sensual Times. And I didn't say non-sensual because everything can be sensual. But just right now, there's so many actions keeping us out of our sensual spaces. So that's why I specifically use not so sensual in the title.
Okay, got you. All right. So when I decided that it was going to be an incredible idea for us to do this podcast, I knew that this was also going to be very difficult for me. I just feel like it's going to be difficult for me to link what it is that you see with these Rorschach tests to exactly what it is that you do. But I thought it was going to be difficult before, and I pulled it off. I pulled it off every time. Nobody stumped me yet. So let's see what happens. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. You know, I don't went into my psychologist role on you and why you set yourself up to say it's going to be difficult. You do that on purpose.
I sure do. Because
Okay.
here's the thing. If it doesn't work out, that was my scapegoat. So
And plus, I think it gives you, it puts your adrenaline up so that you show up, you know? So go ahead.
it does. It does. I do perform better under pressure. So sometimes I purposely do put my back against the wall just so that I can fight my way out.
Okay.
And it works. It definitely works for me. So let's see if it continues to work. All right. I don't think I have a few Rorschach tests up here. And for the most part, I've gone through all of them, but I don't think I've ever done the one that I use as my logo. So we're going to
Okay.
start here with this one.
Oh,
All
wow.
right. What do you
I
see?
wanted it to be so difficult and I wanted to say something truly off, but I completely see an angel and I see her yoni.
Okay. You know what's so funny about you saying that? I'm able, and I say this on just about every podcast, I'm able to sexualize just about all of these things. But I feel like this is going to be a bit different. And this is the reason I say this, because when I'm talking to you, and just based off of other conversations that we've had, I feel like me saying that I see a yoni or me saying I see a vagina, to you, that's not me sexualizing it. Is that true?
Yeah. So I don't think it's perverting it. Even I mean, a yoni is a sexual organ. So I wouldn't say it's sexualizing it, but even if it were, sex is natural. Sex is sacred. Sex is not something that is, oh my God, we shouldn't talk about it. It's so everything. It is everything. It is why we are here. It's how we are here. So whether you're sexualizing it or not, I'm not bothered by it because sexual is very natural. But I don't see I don't see you being perverted.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I didn't think it was going to bother you. I just thought that you would say, there have been times that I've said things in our conversations and you kind of challenge me on certain things. And I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of see it that way, which is pretty rare because people say things to me and I'm like, whatever, I feel how I feel. But you are one of the few people that have had the ability to make me see things in another way. Um, that makes it sound like I'm difficult. I'm not difficult, but all right. So let me tell you what I see here. So I
Okay.
see, I see a couple of things. I do see a woman there. I do see her yoni, but I didn't see that until you said that.
Okay.
And, um, initially, I saw it looks like it looks like some sort of evil cow face or bull face.
I
Yeah.
see
So
that not. Mm-mm. I don't see that at all.
at the top, it looks like horns, and in the middle, those are the eyes, and then the nose in the middle. I guess
Hmm.
where the yoni is, that looks like the nose.
We need arrows. Okay.
I know, right? I have them on my end. You just can't see it.
Okay. Okay. Well, no, I didn't get that. I got
Yeah.
an angel with beautiful big wings. and then smaller wings, and then a yoni, and I even see her feet at the bottom. So
Okay. And I can definitely see that.
okay,
Okay. All
okay,
right. So now I have to link this to what it is that you do. All right. Okay. So
that's easy.
angel, angel, that's it's a spirit, very spiritual thing. What you do is very spiritual. It is a direct connection between you and the universe. Um, the what was the other thing you said you saw?
So I saw the angel with big
Oh,
wings,
yoni, the yoni.
smaller wings, and a very powerful, like a substantial yoni.
Okay, so and I can definitely see the yoni. When like and it's so funny because like I said, I sexualize all of these things, but this time I didn't do that. I didn't see it until you said it. Um,
Which is
what,
interesting because it has to do with the question that I want to ask you as a professional later on. So
I've been waiting
remind
for
me.
somebody to ask me questions. I'm glad that you're going to do that. Okay. So, and so with the yoni, I can easily connect that as well. Your book, such and actually that leads me to a question that I want to ask you. So, your book is about sensuality. You said sensual. You said sensual what in not so sensual times?
Sensual living and not so sensual
Living.
times.
Okay, sensual living and not so sensual times. Now, what is the difference? I know what it is for me, but what is the difference between sensuality and sexuality?
Okay. And then remember, I said when we address ourselves, we always forget something. I also would like to say, as far as the angel, so I do intuitive readings. So I'm very connected to spirit and spirit guides, which usually show up as ancestors or as so just wanted to go there. So
So if you
since
would have said that beforehand, I would have used that as a connection with what you said. So we're going to act like that was mine. I said that. So thank you.
all right, you got that one, bro. I'm sorry. That was on me. Um so sensuality and sexuality have really nothing to do with one another to a degree. I mean, with our sexuality, the more sensual we are, the more we can curate a out of body experience. But so sensuality, you can be completely abstinent and be the most sensual being in the place. I mean, have you ever seen a woman walk in or a man? But I tend to find my eyes drawn to women because the energy that they exude is just so it calls me. But you ever see a woman walk into a room and she may not have on something super tight or whatever, but the way her hips sway and the way she's just present, it's just like, whoa, what is that? So a lot of times what happens is for me, sensuality is how in touch we are with our essence. And so the way we do that is through presencing ourselves. The way we do that and with this particular book is through a modality called sensory indulgence. So we use the senses to connect to our divine essence, to God, to our the word senses. I mean, that's what it's about. It's how you experience things. So how you smell what the flowers, how that connects you to a moment, how touch, you know, um, and so how deeply connected we are. And I consider sacred sensuality anything that deepens your connection to the divine. So that does not necessarily mean sex. Now, when you bring all that into the bedroom, kitchen, wherever you like to do it, when you bring all that into your sex, now you're heightened because you are very much in touch with all of these senses that are gifts from the divine. Like, it's so amazing to me. It's like, wow, why does a sunset look as beautiful as it does? That's a gift, a sight. That is what the divine is like. Here's this present. And so to remember, to be present enough to remember that, connect with that, and the divine that is outside of you is the same divine that's within you. It just changes your experiences. It's just, yeah, I'm getting hyped. So,
So is that something that you teach? Do you teach people to, I guess, it's more so being aware of being more aware of the senses, things that we probably take for granted often.
Yeah, because we're
But
not present. We're not
right,
present. We
so you teach people how to have a heightened level um of understanding, and I guess teach them to be more in tune with their senses, and
yeah, and
allow that
yeah,
to kind of transform into sensuality.
yes. I guide you because we all know all of these things. We just have to remember them. And we're in such a society where, I mean, we have fast food restaurants all the time. Nobody has any downtime. So, we're just not in a space of remembering that. So I guide people on how to do that. And there will be some workshops upcoming.
Okay, okay. All right. I want to talk about your workshops too, but let's do another Rorschach test first. And then I do want to get into that workshop. Okay, let's see here. All right. What do you see here?
Oh, I see two phoenix rising, two phoenixes rising.
And that's it.
Yeah. Well, they're the bottom, the pink is
Hmm.
kind of like they're dancing together. I see a dance between two phoenixes. Yes.
That doesn't surprise me that as a goddess that you would see a phoenix rising. Um, I see. So at the top, it looks like two beings. I can't quite put my finger on what they are, but two beings, and they have like long nails, and they're kind of pointing at each other.
Okay.
Um, they are on top of, it looks like, smoke.
Okay. I can see.
Um, and actually, those two beings on top of that smoke, they look like fire coming from smoke now.
Okay.
The
Fire
bottom,
fire coming from smoke. Interesting. Okay.
right. Um, and then the bottom part, the pink. Uh, this is going to sound weird. It looks like some pigs.
Okay.
It looks like a bunch of pigs. You know what it looks like? It looks like four pigs that are causing the smoke that is causing the fire.
Mm. Veganism, people.
And we're going to talk about that too. But
Pigs are telling you.
so, all right. So you saw a phoenix. You said two phoenixes. What's the plural form of phoenix? Is it pheni? We're gonna go with pheni.
I think it's phoenixes.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's a phoenix and another phoenix, and they're both rising.
Two. Yes. Yes.
So, and so of course they're like rising from the ashes.
Yes.
The I guess the understanding is, I guess, the way people look at them now when we look at a phoenix rising, it's kind of like a bounce back, I guess. Is that safe to say? It's somebody who has, I mean, when we relate it to modern times, um, there are people who may have gone through something, hit rock bottom, and now they're starting to come out of it. And that's normally the connection to the phoenix. People say, a phoenix rising. So let me ask you this. Have you felt this though you had to hit rock bottom in order for you to get to the place that you are now, in order to rise like that phoenix?
So I don't know if we would call it rock bottom, but all of these coin terms, they're cute, but in my spiritual journey, I'm so connected to source and to my ancestors that I don't feel a need to follow the conformity, but just for sake of explaining things. So there's a term called the dark night of the soul. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, so it is the point where we all have been on a spiritual journey since before we were born, because and everything I'm saying is it is of my belief, right? So energy cannot be destroyed, it just comes back. So I believe that we have lived multiple lives, so we've been on this spiritual journey forever. But then there's the part of the journey where we're conscious of it, right? Our awareness is, oh, I'm on this spiritual journey. And when you wake up and you start saying, okay, none of this really sits with me. Like, oh, I don't really believe in this. Where did this belief come from? Oh, my parents. Oh, society. I really don't believe in this institutionalization. Oh, and you're like shook because now you're like, what the fuck do I believe in? My foundation is shook because I'm realizing that all these things are not of me. Who the fuck am I? Right? And then you go dark because now you're like, all the shit that I thought was real, everything I've done in my life was based on these things that were given and told to me that I was. Now I don't even know what to do. And so you go into this space that's very dark and it's not pretty. And that's the dark night of the soul. And generally, I truly believe that you have to go into that in order to come out and see the light. So yes, I went through my dark night of the soul. It was crazy. I was just like, what the fuck? I can't, what is happening? And but I came out of it. So yes, and that's probably why I, see the phoenixes, because in this spiritual journey, that is something that is almost, I guess, how you said, a rite of passage, but generally everyone goes through.
So is that what led you to the point that where you are now, as far as being a goddess and being an author?
I don't know. I mean, it was a part of the process. I don't know that it. I mean, I guess. I mean, I literally was always a goddess. I just wasn't aware of it. And that is that the awareness is what differentiates.
Okay. So did that lead to the awareness?
Yes, definitely, definitely
Okay.
reestablishing my belief system and developing who I am based on my new experiencing of it, and not owning societal norms or the norms of my parents, etc., and really going inward to determine who I am and who I want to be,
Mm-hmm.
and
So
creating that life.
So on this journey, did your parents feel as though you were going against them?
Listen, my mother and I have been like, okay, what we gonna do? How we gonna move forward? Because we can't keep doing this, right? So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. The last time I saw her, I got kind of outside of myself because who I am was becoming a little uncomfortable for her, because I can be intense, right? You know me, we talk on the phone and it's like you said, I'll make you stop and question something, right?
Right.
Or my mom, who's older and is like, listen, I done did all my life. I don't need you to teach me nothing. For her,
Mhm.
she's like, I don't want none of this. But really, she actually does. So it's only when she gets a little uncomfortable and is seeing a reflection of herself that she kind of gets upset, right? But she has very much gotten on board. But this space can be uncomfortable because I don't, it's funny, when I was going to church all the time, I went to church on Sunday and I didn't think about church or a Bible no other time. But now that I'm really walking in a conscious spiritual journey, I'm in this space pretty much all the time. And so for a minute, it was a little disjointing for my mom, but I'm now aware and I try to operate from my heart space so that I can be compassionate in her feelings without subjecting and sacrificing who I am.
Okay. Got you. All right. I am having issues with my light over here. I told you it's been a day. Everything is just it's trying me. So I'm having issues with my light over here, but whatever. That's dead now. I got another light. I got two more lights, so we're just going to use those, and we're going to go do another Rorschach test and act like that light didn't just go out on me. All right. So here you go. What do you see here?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. This makes no sense. I don't want to be so typical. All right. So I do see like the pink in the center is a powerful woman being. I want I wanted to stay away from the term goddess being so cliche, but I see a goddess. I see these, oh, you can't see what I'm pointing at. The two very particular gray images on the side with the look like kind of like black crowns on their head. They are
Hmm.
like what is the word? There was a cartoon about it. But can't think of the word. But they're like protectors of the goddess.
Okay.
Um what are those things that they're like statues? And they look like kind of monsters. I can't think of the word.
Oh, you
Anyway,
mean like um gargoyles? Gargoyles?
like gargoyles or something. Yeah, they're protectors of her.
Okay.
And that's mainly what I see. Anything else. And it's like even she's over this this gateway. So that black line in the middle, it's like, hey, you come through here, this is a gateway, but you have to be brave enough to go through that gateway. That looks
Okay.
like the Dark Knight.
Okay. All right. I see in the middle now, I see the goddess. Before I saw a flower, but I do see the goddess now. And as I look closer, it looks like two eyes there, and it looks like the goddess has her hands. It looks like it could be either hands above her head. I see what you're doing. The people can't see what you're doing, but hold
Okay.
on. Let me let them know. You can do it again now. Okay. All right. And that's exactly what I see. So it looks like that could be either her hands or her feet. But on the sides, I see it looks like two goats that are the ones that you called that you see as gargoyles. They look like two goats to me. And at the bottom, it looks like a black frog. So
All over the place.
I was just about to say that I am all over the place with these things. But you made this easy for me again because you just described yourself. You know, you described the goddess that's in the middle. The gargoyles that you see on the sides, they it seems so they are like in a position of being protectors. Do you feel as though as a goddess that there is this spiritual protector that is around you at all times? Um, the only reason that I really thought that this was going to be a little difficult for me is because I feel like there's certain terms that I want to use and I can't pull from them right now, and it's driving me up a wall. I can't figure out exactly where I want to go with this, but um, just some sort of universal slash spiritual protector that is around you at all times, as that is protecting you not just as a person but as a goddess.
Mhm. So I'm also a mother of three sons. I have a male dog. So on in this third dimension, no plane, I am always protected. Right. I move left. The whole room moves left with me. It's like, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Universally, I do. I do. The universe has been very clear that whatever steps I make, I am supported, I am
Mhm.
loved, and I am protected. I'm also very um, honored to have the presence of my ancestors with me most times. And they hood, like literally. I've had people do some shit and my ancestors be like, boom, boom. I've seen people end up in the hospital. I don't know how to snap, so I just pretend I'm snapping. So,
I got
yeah. So,
you.
um, so I do feel very protected. And let me be clear, and I don't want to gaslight. I know pain and I know that sadness and grief are very real and necessary parts of life. But I also really feel like that when we do find ourselves going through something that is hurtful or maybe even harmful, that there is a beauty and a lesson in that. So it's not to say I don't think I'll ever go through anything, but it's also how I perceive it. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to talk to my son yesterday about perception. You know, we had thought all his information for college was updated, right? And so we're like, oh, and then so his financial aid and all that stuff. Then we realized that something we had done was wrong. And so he's all flustered. Oh, here's another thing. So we call and they were like, yeah, we'll fix that. But really, if he's coming to summer semester, you guys haven't submitted anything. And so what we didn't realize, and it's been how long since I've been an undergrad, we didn't realize that summer semester is a part of last year. So we were thinking he was good because we think a summer semester is the beginning of next year. And they're like, no, y'all didn't even do this. So I told my son, I said, look, son, we were flustered and upset that we made a mistake. But had we not made a mistake, I would have taken you to school on June 21st. And they'd be like, man, where your check? You wouldn't have your financial aid. So what I want you to learn to look at things and figure out how you want to perceive it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying that to say that I know that there are going to be difficult times or things that cause pain or hurt and grief, but the universe has still always got me.
Right. Got you. Okay. Yeah. And that makes sense. There is a lot of wisdom and growth in pain. There is a lot of lessons, of course. The first part of testimony is test. So it's like you have to go through something in order to achieve a certain level of understanding. And sometimes you got to go through hell to experience peace. So I get it. I get it completely. I want to, before we do another Rorschach test, I want to speak a little bit about your book. So tell me exactly, what is the book about?
All right. So the book is about, it gives an introduction to who I am. And so I am also a priestess initiate. Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't really like saying what I am and who I, because it's like it goes on forever and ever. But as a priestess initiate, basically we hold space for other beings to heal, to come forth, to connect to their authentic self. So I learned that the priestess leadership style that I am is the ecstatic ecstasy, right? We marvel in all the moments, right? We have this deep connection with our senses and our sensual selves. And so I've always been that way. I discuss it in the book that, even when I was younger, it would be like, oh, you're so sexy. And I always wanted to be the pretty girl, the nice girl, the good girl. And it was like, no, you're just so sexy. And I didn't understand what people were really saying because they didn't have the verbiage to say what they really meant. And it was like, really, I think what they meant is I see the goddess in you. But back then they didn't know how to say that. Okay. So, and also I have this ability to, now this is where it gets sexual. I actually am so in tune with myself that I have random orgasms based on if the wind is touching me and I feel a type of joy that can create such a connection for me that it's orgasmic. So my girlfriends call that the my superpower. they're like that's a superpower. But what happened was I was on some interview or some social media platform with some other folks, and everybody wanted to talk about sacred sex. And what I realized is that we want this sacred connection with other people that we haven't even developed within ourselves. And so for me, my job, my purpose is to help guide you on how to develop that within yourself so that you can show up full, holy, and present with someone else. And so when I was on this this platform, I started getting all these emails. How do I do this? How do I? I was just like, I can't answer all these emails. I'm just going to write a book, and that's it. And so there's homework in it. There's homework whether you're single, whether you have a partner, whether you have 2 or 3 partners. So it's like it is. as an air sign, I get kind of flighty. So for me, I like to have action items. So there are action items in the book that are so much fun that you got to do it.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Now, is it safe to say that you're bringing sensuality to sexuality in the book?
So no, that actually we kind of. I mean, it depends with the homework, depending on where you and your partner decide to go with things. Like that's up to y'all. But we really focus mostly on the senses and the sensuality, and maybe we'll come up with book 2 or 3 to delve more into sacred sex.
Yeah, I think when me and my wife read the book, I think that we're gonna make it sexual, but we have a tendency to do that with anything. So
Yeah,
oh, she's gonna kill me.
that's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, but she's gonna kill me. But that's all right though, because then she'll have sex with me. All right, so we're gonna get into we're gonna get into another test here. All right, what do you see here?
Oh, huh. I see. Oh God, I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want you to be like, okay, you're crazy. I see two very intimidating men at the top, and like uh, they're like doing some type of ritual, and it's like the ritual may have had fire previously because everything looks ash like ashes. Everything is covered with ashes.
Hmm. Okay.
Don't tell me I don't like men.
No, 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 no. I'm actually gonna go somewhere else with that. Um, I hopefully it doesn't feel like I'm reaching. I'm gonna connect it though. Um, so this to me looks like I see that bull face. Remember, I said I saw a bull face earlier. It looks like a bull
Mm-hmm.
face, and it looks like it's blowing something out of its nose, but it also looks like a
Mm,
gas mask. It looks like a
okay.
gas mask, and like something is coming out of the nose of the
Ooh,
gas mask.
I see that. Oh, I see that. I
Mm,
definitely see that.
yeah, but it looks evil. It looks like an evil gas mask.
Yeah, it definitely is a very evil feeling from it.
Yeah, yeah. So you said, okay, tell me again what it is that you see, and I'm gonna try my best to connect this. But go ahead.
Okay, the 2 men at the top,
Hmm.
like have a white mask or something, and they
Okay.
look like they've just like um been in some kind of ritual that everything on the bottom is just like ashes, like they've been burning stuff or like they've been how burning a town and just wreaking havoc. I see havoc and I see 2 men causing it.
Okay. All right.
It made
So
me uncomfortable. I didn't like that.
really, all right. So boy, this is going to be difficult. I'm going to try to connect this though. All right. You and I had a conversation, I think last week, and you were talking, because we were talking about your podcast, which is what we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that in a few, but we were talking about your podcast. We were talking about your book, and we were talking about certain things that you're talking about in the book and certain things that you're going to talk about on the podcast. One of the things that you touched on, I can't remember exactly the context in which we were talking, but I I remember you saying that um, men don't flirt with you, men don't talk to you, like that. They don't do that, and it seems as if there is, man, I'm trying to make this connection. Let me pull this thing back up for a second. Okay, so the what I believe is that you are intimidating. I believe that the things that you have going on as a goddess, the just how in tune you are with your spirituality, how in tune you are with the universe, and how in tune you are with yourself. is intimidating to a lot of men, and it prevents them from saying, okay, or trying their hand or whatever. I mean, in addition to that, you're married, so maybe that right there as well. And maybe certain men are just being respectful, but of course there are plenty of men out here who don't care, and of course they would shoot their shot. But I believe that there's that you are so in tune with who you are, and that awareness of being a goddess has kind of it just exudes from you. So anybody that comes in contact with you, that's what they pick up on immediately. So going back to what you saw. Oh, this is difficult. I'm reaching here, but I'm trying. Okay. So going back to what you saw, the two men there that are doing this ritual, they are very I think I believe when you first said you saw it that you said that the two men were intimidating, I believe. So these two men are extremely intimidating, the same way they're really intimidating, and they're doing this ritual. And I believe that people who don't understand what it is that you do see you as somebody who may do some sort of ritual, because you are a goddess, because you are so in tune with the universe and so in tune with the senses. And that right there kind of it doesn't deter them. I honestly think that they are fascinated. I think they're fascinated, but they're afraid, because they are too intimidated by what it is that you do and who it is that you are. More importantly, who it is that you are. I know I was all over the place with that. You'll go.
No, like your turn. Shoot the dice. Which is interesting because even with that, with you saying them being intimidated, they were intimidating to me. So, but it's interesting, because I operate really from a space of love most of the time. I wouldn't love to say it all times, a couple times, and I'm like, and that to me, let's be clear, a goddess is not perfect. A goddess embodies the emotion. She feels things. So we
Right.
ain't perfect. We pout, we go through whatever. We have anger, but I try to operate from my heart space and out of love. Love is the highest, most healing vibration. And the Heart Institute, their studies on the energy that our hearts emit. um, so I don't know, the fact that people are intimidated. It's really funny because I was in Atlanta recently, and I just, because they have so many more vegan options, and I know so many holistic healers in Atlanta. I just thought, here, I'm just going to show up another, whatever. And the men would talk to me, but it would be to ask me about the crystals that I wear, which, oh, I just realized I don't have on my crystal that I wear at all times, because I was so busy trying to get ready for this. But guys, like, can I take a picture of your crystal? Or your energy is so this. Or, oh my gosh, do you do Reiki? Can you do Reiki on me? Nobody, and it's funny because yes, I am married, but I'm still a human. And you want to know if people think you're cute or whatever. But no, it's like, can you just lay hands? Where do you get your crystals from? And what else do you do? And like, I have never had men actually want me to talk. I was like, wow, you really, I've been talking for 30 minutes. What else do you do? Okay, because I've seen Reiki people and I always thought it was fake, but so it's definitely a different space. But again, I really do believe that who you see yourself as, who you truly believe yourself to be, is how you show up. How you show up is where people will meet you at. Now, if you don't believe it, if it's a farce, then people see right through that, men included. Media likes, in the movies, likes to portray men as goofy and unaware when it comes to matters of the heart. And men are intelligent as hell and very observant. And if there is any break in who you're pretending to be, they're going to pick up on it. And depending on the type of man they are, will use it to their advantage. So, yeah.
Okay. So Did I do a good job of connecting that? I mean, did that work?
I did. I hate the fact though that people are intimidated by me. It makes me sad. But
But you
yes.
know what? I think that the guys, I honestly, when they're asking all those questions about your crystals and about the Reiki, I think that that's their own little way of awkwardly flirting. I don't think they know what to say because it's something that's so different. And you are so I think for a lot of men in trying to understand or just not understanding at all about um everything that comes along with you, they're trying to find a level of comfort. And in trying to find their level of comfort, they do it in a very, very uncomfortable way. So they're like, okay, well, let me talk about the things that have to do with you. And maybe I can make you feel comfortable enough to make me feel comfortable.
Okay.
So that's honestly, I think that they are trying to flirt and they are, but they are waiting for you to make the situation comfortable enough for them to flirt.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you know,
I just get
it's
into
only
the crystals. I be like, oh yeah. You want to see my crystal? Okay.
okay, so let's talk about the podcast. So, um, where did you get the idea to do this podcast?
I,
Just
you
wanted to
know,
be curious.
there was this brother that I was talking to who
Uh,
believed so much in me and my book. He was just like, I think you should do a podcast. So it was you. You are
oh,
him.
okay. All right, cool.
And so so definitely, I really appreciate your support and your belief in me and what I'm doing. It is something that I'm passionate about, but I tend to um shadow side. So anybody listening to this and knowing about spiritual journeys and stuff, there's something called your shadow, right? So the shadow is all the things that we consider not good about ourselves and the things that we try and fight and hide. So my shadow side, I battle with imposter syndrome. So I'll write this wonderful book, but then I won't share the word about it because I'm just like, do you really deserve? And don't talk about yourself. Why are you talking about yourself? But you've been like, no, no. What you're gonna do is talk about this because people need to hear this. So I really
Right.
appreciate that because I'm doing my shadow work. But until then, it's really good to have a tribe. And I will tell you this: you're one of the few males in my tribe. So I honor you and I appreciate you and I recognize and see the God in you for that. So I'm honored. So thank you. So the
I appreciate
podcast,
that.
it's sincere. The podcast is going to be each episode will be about a different chapter in the book. We're going to invite, like you do, invite different people from different, backgrounds, marital status, whatever sexual orientation, to experience and read each chapter and join in and talk about it and talk about whether or not they did homework assignments and how that felt for them. And maybe we'll do some actual real time videoing of some of the homework assignments, which like one of them in the chapter about taste. So I'm fascinated with mouths. I love mouths. And one of the homework assignments mine is to take a chocolate truffle, which, truffles, they kind of melt in your mouth, give them the opportunity. But half the time we stick it in our mouth and start chewing.
Uh-huh.
So to just sit with putting the truffle on your tongue and just applying pressure and just seeing how long you can actually just sit in that space and the different sensations. Where do you feel the flavor most? Because your taste buds aren't just on your tongue, they're all over your mouth. So using your whole mouth to experience that truffle. So we'll do stuff like that on the podcast.
I think there's a truffle store over here somewhere. I'm gonna stop and get some truffles on my way home.
Have some fun with the wife. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna get into some truffle trouble. Um, Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, so we got some major things coming with that podcast. I am super excited about it, and it's just in developing. I have had such a good time in developing and helping to create this podcast with you. It has opened my eyes to even my own podcast and opened my mind so
You are
much.
so open. Like that is a beautiful thing. You're very steadfast. You're very intelligent. You have this wealthy amount of experience behind you, but you come open. And I don't know if that's just because of the relationship we've developed. Because again, as I said, I don't try and convince anybody of anything. What I will do is you'll come to me and I'll just ask you a question. And then I
Right.
do that. I just ask you a question, and you're like, oh, and then you go down a whole nother path. So I that's really dope about
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I think it comes from me not being afraid of asking questions when I don't know things. I mean, I know that I don't know stuff, and in a lot of instances, especially when I'm coming into something new, I don't know what I don't know. So I ask the obvious questions, and then I ask some other questions that may not be so obvious. And in my mind, they may sound stupid, but to the person I'm asking, it could make all the sense in the world. And then I'm like, okay, that wasn't a stupid question. But I'm not afraid to ask the questions that could come across as stupid questions. And I think I'm intelligent enough where if I ask a stupid question, I can flip it and and make it seem intelligent. So I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I'm definitely open to receiving things. And I love learning. I do
it.
love learning. I love learning. I love creating. And then I love creating based off of what I learned.
Okay.
So I think that that's what it is. I do like to just come with an open mind about things. And I think that's also why I'm able to have I have like such a diverse group of friends. I mean, you're going to find any and everything in my circle of friends. And I think that does come from me being so open-minded and wanting to experience new things, new people, new cultures, new whatever. I just love it.
Yeah.
I just love it. Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about you're a vegan, right?
I am plant-based, yes.
Okay. What caused you to become a vegan?
Okay. So oh, these stories. Okay, so FYI, I'm very woo-woo. Yeah, I mean I'm very much in touch with spirit, and I'm very much like, I mean, spirit has showed up and showed out for me. So when did I become vegan? Um, geez. So I'm vegan and I don't eat processed foods too. Um, it was just I hear echo. I hope it's not recording that way. Are you good?
Yeah, I
No?
don't hear it.
Okay. So I mean, for me, we're just not in a space where we were in ancient times where you sent the hunters out, the deer was running through, living his most wonderful life. You shot the animal, it was an honorable exchange. So now the
Mhm.
way we're rearing these animals, I mean, look at Charlotte's Web, right? Animals are incredibly intelligent, pretty much all of them, right? A pig is smarter than a dog. But in Charlotte's Web, all the animals was like, oh, you going to that little hut over there? Oh, let me tell you what's about to happen to you. Animals are aware. And so one, that's the spiritual aspect of it. There's a connection. I look at my dog who knows as soon as daddy leaves, oh, I'm gonna go up here and start crying because she gonna come down because she weak as hell. I got this, who deducts, who has, the capability to deduce. So for me, that just didn't sit well with me. But
Mhm.
two, the way we kill, or the way we slaughter these animals, right? These
Mhm.
animals are highly stressed. So as a human, do you know what happens when you're stressed? Your body releases chemicals, it's specifically cortisol.
Right.
At when you store a lot of cortisol, you are at a high risk for heart attack. Okay. So animals have the same chemical. So these animals are reared in such stressful situations that now there are chemicals in their bodies that now you're going to eat. and they're fucking dead. I don't know. Eating dead corpse at some point, this was like, what the fuck? I'm eating something that's really dead. This is a corpse.
Right.
And so, I don't like to sound, judgmental, because as a personal trainer, I do not advise any of my clients become vegan. So it really had to do with one, like just energetically connecting to animals. Then it had to do with, I don't want those chemicals that are in their body in my body. Then two, there's a lot of health benefits to being plant-based. But more importantly, again, because I don't advise anybody to become vegan. Spirit was like, it's time. But more importantly, I don't eat processed foods, or I try not to. And it's very minimal. Like if I eat vegan chocolate, it's got like 4 ingredients in it, But so I'm the type of empath that I found out is very rare. I didn't realize how rare it is. Where I'm so in tune with my body that they're empaths of like, oh, I feel people's emotions. I feel people's ailments, right? And so spirit, I remember one day, I had been vegan, I'm thinking I'm doing it, and I was at a Mexican restaurant eating tortilla chips and guacamole. And spirit was like, and literally, spirit cussed. Spirit said, how you gonna heal people and you eating shit? And I was like, it's just tortilla chips. Like, but that was for me a message of being very clear and healthy with my vessel as I'm going to experience other people's vessels. Because when I, do these readings and stuff, I'm taking on, or I'm in your body almost, And so just being very clear about keeping my vessel clean. My cells. So when I meditate, I have a guru, and when I first got on this journey, I was like, what book should I read? And he was like, The Book of Self. And I was like, dude, can you just give me a book? He was like, The Book of Self. So I was like, that's some Buddha shit, right? So I sat down and I began scanning my body in order to ground myself in meditation. I began to hear what my body needed, right? My cells were like, finally, you're listening. So our cells, all however many trillion that we have at any time, are always communicating with each other and trying to communicate with us, but we're not hearing it. So my body, I listened to my body, and my body was like, none of that white sugar stuff. Don't eat none of that flour stuff. Don't, and so I just really listened to my body. And so that's why I don't really eat processed foods. And when I do eat processed foods, you'll know it, because my energy and my mood completely changes. And I can't even really hear my body connecting with me because there's so many chemicals and toxins in my blood.
Gotcha. Okay. So you also talked about I guess the way the animals are treated.
Mm-hmm.
So how I'm going to put a picture up here. I want you to tell me, how do you feel about this? Okay.
Okay. This, I think PETA is, I don't feel any way about it. PETA serves its purpose. I think that they really believe in their fight and their purpose. And who am I to pull anything from that? I don't wear fur, but if I did and they threw some paint on my fur, we would be stepping out of goddess mode into warrior mode. but yeah, PETA just that is what they're there for. Their members and their leadership, that is what they're there for. But that isn't who I am. I don't again, I don't try and convince anybody of anything. I make beautiful when I have dinner parties at my home. I still cook meat for the meat eaters, but I make vegan dishes just to introduce people to them, and they crush them.
Okay. So I asked about this because I really wanted to get to this.
So corny.
I know, right? I know.
Corny. Yeah, I know you had to put a joke up here. You're a comedian. That is so corny. But listen, I live with meat eaters. It does not bother. I mean, I have to, let people be on their own journeys.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and that's good. I had somebody one time. I was filming, as for those of you all that don't know, I'm an actor as well. But I was filming something, and uh, when we when we had to when it was time to take our break, all of us, all of us, with the exception of one person, was a vegan, and she berated us all for sitting there and eating. I forgot what it was that we were eating, but she was just going on and on. I'm like, okay, let me stay away from her.
Wait,
And
she was the vegan?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And so I tried to get away from her, but she made her way over there by me, and she was just telling me. I mean, but the way, I mean, it's a way to do it. There's don't try to force it on me. And the more she spoke, the harder I chewed. I don't think. Don't bring this shit to me. Like, I don't want to hear this. Like,
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
Let me enjoy this cow.
Listen, when people post some pictures, maybe I'm a horrible vegan because I'm like, oh, if I ate meat, I would eat that. That looks good. But let me tell you, some vegans are wild, yo. So I love to cook, right? So I would go to these cooking classes. My husband would book these cooking classes for me. And so at one point, butternut squash was my favorite food on the earth. This was even before I was vegan. So Zola's, you remember Zola's? They used to have a kitchen where they would host these cooking classes. So I get there because my husband booked it because it was a butternut squash class. So guess who shows up? Like 20 vegans, right? They
Mhm.
lit. They like, we doing a vegetable. So this nice rotund chef comes from behind. So he been eating good, right?
Mhm.
So, and it was, I think I and this couple was maybe the only ones that weren't vegans there. And so the chef comes out with this big pan of butter. So the vegans are like, okay, what you doing with the butter? So it gets worse. Then, so what he's making is butternut squash ravioli and butternut squash balls, right? So the vegan's
Mhm.
still just looking at him like, okay, what you doing with butter? Okay. So then he comes out with a pan of applewood smoked bacon and
Mhm.
he starts frying it in the butter. And the vegans still at this point are like, well, we're not really sure what's happening. So then he begins to scoop the butternut squash in these cute little rotund balls. This little, like an ice cream scooper, but it's mini.
Mhm.
And he drops that butternut squash in the bacon butter fat. Let me tell you, chaos ensued. They were about to drag this man into the street and pull him limb from limb.
That poor guy.
And then so far, and so me and the other couple, we just drinking wine, like, oh shit, like call the news. So basically, though, what they made him do is come up with a completely separate recipe. But what I
Mhm.
learned that night is the chef said to them, "It is not my job to feed anybody healthily. I make things savory and taste good. So you go to a restaurant and think you're ordering something healthy. Ain't no telling what it's been fried in, what it's been roasted
Mhm.
in, and so that really also I don't like dining out a lot. I like the ambiance. I like, okay, I don't have to cook and clean. But one, I don't always know what's going in my food, which is
Mhm.
very important for me. And we've also talked about this. I'm very big on energy. And when you don't know the energy of the person preparing your food, that's
Mhm.
how sometimes you get the jacked up stomach. You're like, why the hell is my stomach feeling like this? Because a motherfucker with some real bad energy who was fighting with his wife the night before prepared your shit. That's why. Stay your ass home, cook your own. So, and I have a story about that because I don't prepare food if I'm angry. I'm rarely angry, but if I am, I won't because I make teas. I curate teas. Here's another thing I forgot. And I have curated a tea when I was horny and took it to the yoga studio. I didn't know at the time that my energy was going to transfer to it. So, but I just wanted to help a girlfriend out. She was having a ceremony. And I was like, here, I love creating teas. This is how I show love. So here you guys go. She called me the next day and was like, Vash, what was in that tea? And I was like, what? What do you mean? She was like, everybody got horny at the same time. So I get special requests for that tea. It's so ridiculous, but it is
And
real,
you
you
don't
know.
see why people are intimidated by your ass.
They should be like, yeah, girl, we want some tea. No, I don't. So, but yes, the Vash tea.
Speaking of Vash or Vashti, um, this is a new name. This you haven't had this name for very long. You were Kiani prior to this.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
let's talk about that name change.
Yeah, so my mother and I still dealing with that.
Okay.
So, so funny. So it's two different stories that are separate. But I went to a crystal shop one day, and she and I have a connection for certain reasons. But she said, "I know that your spiritual name is going to come up for you soon," because she has had since named herself her own spiritual name, and she said, "And it's going to end in E. It's going to sound like Kiani, you know." But and I was like, "Well, nothing has come to me." But okay, that was years ago. Around that same year beforehand, I had gone to Madison House in DC, and it's a gentleman who does intuitive readings. So I have five ancestors that roll with me very heavy. Four are African, and one I thought was South American. And she's the wild card, right? She shows up not when I first started seeing her, I was like, okay, why are you so mean? You know? But so I go to Madison House and the gentleman says, oh, one of your ancestors is here and she's Asian. And I was like, man, you got that wrong. She is South American. She's Latina. Get it straight. She is not Asian. And he was like, whatever. I said what I said, and that's what I said. And I was like, okay. So I left that there. So that was a couple of years ago. So I never thought about this South Asian that he said was with me or this Asian woman. And so now I'm on my journey. I'm realizing I got five, ancestors, and I'm starting to have downloads. And I had this download because I'd always thought in the past life I was a Kemetic or Egyptian, for those who use that term, an Egyptian priestess. I always knew I was a priestess, but I always thought it was Egyptian. So my husband and I are getting these massages, and I'm getting a download. As I go into a meditative state, I get a very clear download that said, you were not an Egyptian priestess. You were a priestess in Mesopotamia. So, I mean, Mesopotamia, why the hell? I mean, I'm like, I haven't heard Mesopotamia since eighth grade geography. Why is this coming up? But I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, fine. And, I mean, I'm very clear. When spirit delivers a message, I believe it. So I said, okay. Now, mind you, I had my African ancestry kit on my desk for months, but I never sent it off. And I realized now that I didn't, because the downloads that I had gotten, if I had gotten the downloads after I got my results, I wouldn't have believed the downloads were from spirit. I would believe they were from my brain. So, okay, before I even send off my African ancestry, so I got the download. The intuitive has already told me there's an Asian with me. Um, I'm also a sacred woman, so I've done Queen Afua. If any of you know who Queen Afua is, I have done Queen Afua's Sacred Woman program. And in Sacred Woman, we develop a deep connection to our womb space. And so my womb began to chant the name Vashti. And I was like, I didn't go, I went to church, but I didn't really go to church. I'm like, who is Vashti? What is Vashti? So I began to Google Vashti. And her story resonated with me so much, right?
Mhm.
This woman who was like, fuck what you said. I'm not doing it. And I'll give up all these riches and burn the shit down. Send me out. So, okay. So my womb is now like Vashti, Vashti. And I'm like, who is Vashti? So I learned who Vashti is. It resonates with me. I tell my girlfriends about this. The very next day after I tell my girlfriends, a book falls off my son's bookshelf, and the author's name is Vashti. This only book that falls off the bookshelf. And I was like, okay, y'all being funny, but fine. So, okay. So I go ahead and send in my ancestry. The results come back. Hi, thank you for participating in African ancestry. But the 10th generational matriarch by which your family begins is actually Asian. So we really can't help you. So I was like, oh. So when I see Asian, I'm immediately thinking Thailand, something like that. But when I research the haplogroup, where the DNA is from exactly, it's from the Middle East. So then I'm like, okay, I'm up, I'm pissed, I'm mad, I don't know what I'm experiencing. But now I'm relating the fact that the gentleman said, the intuitive said that there was an Asian woman with me. So I'm like, okay. I've already I've gotten a download that says my people are from Mesopotamia. Okay, guess where the Middle East is? Ancient Mesopotamia.
Okay.
So then Spirit says, okay, no, I need you to wake up out your bed right now. We got more work to do. So literally, Spirit, I'm telling you, this is crazy. Spirit was like, wake up, open your Facebook, go through your profile pictures. I was like, why? And Spirit was like, yo, what we doing? We haven't gotten over this yet. If I say do it, do it. So I scroll through my Facebook profile pictures. Come to a picture of me 10 years ago in Paris at the Louvre in front of this artifact. And I remember, so I kind of have ADD, so I don't read the words that are with paintings and artifacts. I just feel them. So I'm in front of this artifact, and I remember telling my husband to take a picture. I don't take a lot of pictures when I'm traveling, but I said, take a picture of me in front of this artifact. These are my people. So I come across that picture. Spirit said, now Google what the ancient Mesopotamians look like. The first picture that comes up is the exact same artifact that I'm standing in front of. Ancient Mesopotamians. So then Spirit said, you always knew who you were. Then Spirit said, now Google exactly where Vashti was born. She was born in Babylon. Babylon is ancient Mesopotamia. Spirit said, that's your name. Kiani served her purpose. She is who bore you into this world. It is time to change your name and become who you are.
Wow, that's powerful. That is powerful. And that is that really sums up everything that we've been talking about. You being in tune with your spirituality, being in tune with the ancestors, being in tune with the universe. That really sums up everything. So I'm glad that we were able to go as in depth as we were without giving away too much information. I tried to not get too deep into the book because I want people, I just wanted to give them enough to get them interested so they can come get the book. And then of course you have the podcast coming. Before we leave, as we're about to wrap up now, but before we leave, I do want you to let everybody know when the book, do we have a date yet for the book?
Child. So I'm going to say June 1st, even though I shouldn't say that because I will be out of the country. But, I think it's safe. It definitely would be June. It's definitely going to be June. I don't have an exact date yet. But the book is ready. We're just waiting for some technical things to be cleared up.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And the podcast will be coming shortly after the book is released, correct?
Yes.
That's what we decided on. Okay. All right.
Yes,
all right.
That's what we're doing, boss.
Okay.
And we got more books coming.
Yes. More books and more podcasts. We have a plan, but all of that will come. We'll get into all of that later, but we got a plan though. So look, before we get out of here, I want you to let everybody know exactly where they can get in contact with you, if you want them to get in contact with you.
Okay. Yeah, especially my goddesses, right? Because we glowing up. We're making it. We're stepping into who we are and into true power. So please, you can contact me. I'm on social media. I mean, I'm on IG really as my personal self at Key Fitness. So that's KY Fitness _DC on IG. My website is www.monumental-wellness.com. You can schedule Reiki, personal training appointments, etc. And then I'm on Facebook as Vashti Dennis.
Okay, so before we get out of here, I got one more picture for you. I want you to tell me exactly what you see, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Aw. I see the truth. I see so much love. I see love and I see light, and that's beautiful.
Can you read it for me?
Oh shit. I was like, am I supposed to read it? Okay. This is the greatest podcast ever. It is.
And I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for your time
I'm
and
cheesing
for
so
your
hard.
stories. And I can't wait to see exactly where you go from here.
Thank you for allowing me on your platform. I know you are particular, so I feel honored. And
I am, I
hi to
am
all of your watchers. So
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I'll be in touch with you soon.
all right.
All right.